All right, so tonight we are continuing with the art of being human. And for tonight's class, I want to speak about something very, 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 very basic in being a upstanding human being. And that is something called integrity. Okay, integrity, in Hebrew we're going to call this yosher. Yosher means being straight. It comes from the word yashar. A person who's a yashar person, it means that he's a straight person. And having yosher, having this integrity, is something very, very basic in being a good Jew and being a good human being. And so first of all, I want to discuss like where we see that this is an important midah, where we see that this is an important value for a person to have, and also I want to connect this with the month of Elul as being something which is preparing for Rosh Hashanah. And I think this is actually like very much in the spirit of our preparation for this new year. So first of all, who says it's important to be straight? Maybe it's okay to be unstraight. Like how would you say what's the opposite of being an unstraight person? Person is crooked, right? So in Yiddish, the way to say crooked is krum. Is krum. So like the opposite of a straight person is a krum person. And so to be krum, from a Torah perspective, if somebody says you're so krum, like there's no worse. There is no worse insult that he can give you, that you're just a krum person. It means that you're very, like the very basis of your existence is just like off. It's like you're just like your head isn't screwed on right. That means you're krum. Okay, so I know that like in the very the beginning of history. So the definition of evil was this snake. The snake is so krum. He's just so like swervy, and he's the opposite of straight. Right, so where do we see in our sources that it's a value to be a straight person? So I wouldn't say this is really a source, but I think it's somewhat of something to ponder. That one of the most famous books that we have in our tradition is called Mesilat Yesharim, like the path of the straight. That's how he refers to if you want to be a good Jew. So it's the path to straightness is the path to Hashem. Like the Mesilat Yesharim was a book written by Ramchal, which claims to be a guide to Ruach HaKodesh, to reach the levels of holiness that a person would reach divine inspiration, that Hashem would talk to him, which is like the highest thing that a person can aspire to. And he calls this the Mesilat Yesharim. He calls this is the path of the straight, and it's like usually translated the path of the just. But like that's not what Yesharim means. Yeshar means straight. That it starts with being straight, and so his source is that it says in the Midrash that it says that Sefer Bereshit is called the Sefer HaYashar. It calls Sefer Bereshit Sefer HaYashar, and the reason why Sefer Bereshit is called the Sefer HaYashar, it's the book of the straight, is because it's a reference to the Avot, because the Sefer Bereshit is the story of our patriarchs and our matriarchs. And so the Chazal look at them as being the epitome of straightness. That if you want to be straight, so that's what it means to be straight. So that we look at the Sefer Bereshit as the story of our heroes, that they are the heroes of Am Yitzchak Yaakov, as that they personify what it means to be a straight person. And based on this, we say every Shabbos that B'fi Yesharim Titramam, that we say in Nishmat. At the end of Nishmat, we say that there's a ladder of going up in levels to reach Hashem. So it says B'fi Yesharim Titramam, V'siftei Tzadikim Titbarach, V'shon Chasidim Titkadash, V'karev Kedoshim Titala. So we have this ladder. It starts with being straight. It starts with Yesharim, Tzadikim, Chasidim, Kedoshim. Yeah, this is the ladder that we're trying to walk up to, and we end up by being holy, being kadosh. Hashem is holy, the angels are holy, and under that is the chassid, someone who is not just righteous, but he's even greater than that. He does kindness with Hashem, and the tzaddik, he's the righteous person. But the very basic, the first rung of the ladder is to be a yashar, is to be straight. So it's all about being straight. So now the truth is that it's not just that. It's not just that the Avot HaKadoshim, Avot are called Yeshavim, but rather, really to be a Yid means to be a yashar person because the word for the Jewish person, Yisrael, is yashar kel. Okay, what does it mean, yashar kel? It means that the definition of to be a yid is to express the straightness of God. Okay, that's what it means. Yisrael is yashar kel. That through me, a person can see that Hashem is straight. Okay, so what does it mean that Hashem is straight? So this is psukim that we say in Hazino. It says that kol derachav mishpat, and it says that kel emunah ve'inav tzadik v'yashar hu. That Hashem has no flaws. He's yashar. He's very straight. Hashem is very straight. Hashem is the straightest of them all. And so the fact that Yisrael is called, our name is Yashar Kal, that this is our definition. So that's telling us that part of being a Jew is that we're here in this world in order to express the fact that Hashem is so straight. So this is what I meant when I said that it's related to Rosh Hashanah. So what is Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah is Yom Hadin. Rosh Hashanah is the Day of Judgment, and on Rosh Hashanah, so we're starting the year with this feeling that you don't need to. You don't need to. So we're starting the year with the fact that Hashem is straight. This is the first message that we're starting the year with, that Hashem is straight, to recognize that there is this element of straightness that exists that we're able to tune into, and to recognize that this whole thing are called mishpat. Okay, so the truth is that there's something very beautiful about knowing that there is right and wrong, that there is a path, there is something which is off, there is something which is on, and like there's an expression that the world is not a hefkerwelt. The world is not. The hefker is that you can do whatever you want. Hefker is that like whatever you want. Who owns this? Nobody owns this. You take it. You want it. You don't want it. You can do what you want with it. And to say that the world is not a hefker means that there's rules. So the straightness, to have a line, means that there's a path, and there's something which is right, there's something which is wrong, and that there's possible to be on the path, it's possible to be off the path, and that's what it means when we're saying that Hashem is Yashar. That means that He is the path, that there is a path, and we're able to align ourselves with that path. Okay, so the word Yisrael, so it's connected to another name that we called Yeshurun. And so I was thinking today that when I was a kid, there was I was living in the Shul, which was a Yekish community, and so they called themselves KAJ, and KAJ is Kahal Adat Yeshurun. And so Yeshurun is like straightness. So I was thinking, like the Yekish people, like that, like this is what they stand for. Like they stand for straightness. They stand for it's the rules. It's all like they exactly on the dot. Like not a little bit to the right, not a little bit to the left. That to be very, very straight. Like that is what they want to symbolize in the world. So that's why they call themselves Kahal Adat Yeshurun. So Rosh Hashanah is connecting with this element of mishpat, this element of that there is justice in the world, there is right and wrong, there is a very straight line, and that part of being a Jew is to recognize that there is a line that's there for us to point out, and to align ourselves with it. So when we're talking about yosher, when we're talking about integrity, so there's really two parts to integrity, and the first element of integrity is that to have this inner compass, to have this straightness, to know that I'm going in a certain direction. And when we say that, when we say that a person is a straight person, when we say that a person has yosher, so we really mean two things. That the first step in being a straight person is that I have an inner compass. Okay? The second element of being a straight person is that I follow my inner compass. Okay, so the truth is that the second element we really spoke about a couple of weeks ago when we spoke about emet. We spoke about the meaning of emet. We explained that what does it really mean to be emet? Emet means to be consistent. It means to be that my insides and my outsides are consistent. That from the beginning to the end, that I make sense. I'm coherent, and that's why it's important to be true to myself. It's important to be to be honest with the world, to reveal my inner truth to the world. But I think that in integrity, and this is more of an introduction to Rosh Hashanah, so what I want to focus on today is having this inner compass, is having the line that, like, of course, once I have this line, so of course I'm going to want to try to align myself with it. But the first step is to make sure that I have a clear inner compass, to make sure that I really have something that is really pointing me in the right direction, to the direction that I want to get. Okay, something. So we're looking for a direction in life, and this is the straightness, the straight line that's going to where I want to get. So that this is what we're talking about yosher, about what it means to have a person to have integrity. So we spoke about that, like, not to be a person that doesn't act according to his own values. That's a hypocrite. That's a person who's not consistent. But for today, I really want to focus on just what it means to have this inner compass. So where do we get it from? What is the source? What is the source of having this inner compass, of having this straight line, this conscience? So there's two places that it comes from, and I think it's important for us to understand that these two things really depend on one another. Okay, the first place that we get this from, not sure this, I don't really know which is first and which is second, but number one is that it comes from the inside, and this is something what we call a conscience. And it's a very fascinating thing that in Lashon Kodesh, so the word for conscience is matzpun, and matzpun is extremely similar to the Hebrew word matzpen. Matzpen means a compass. Matzpen is a compass. And so a matzpun is the way that we have this inner compass is our conscience. Our conscience is the thing that guides us, the thing that tells us that no, that's just wrong, or no, this is right. And the thing that's guiding us to what we should be doing in life. So we call that our matzpun. We call that our conscience. So there's one source of straightness that we're able to receive from the inside. And there's another way to receive straightness, and that is from the outside. How do we receive straightness from the outside?
From learning.
From learning. Okay, so hopefully we're going to be learning a lot of Torah, and we're going to be learning from the right people. You can learn from the right people, you can learn from the wrong people, but hopefully we'll be learning from the right people, and the right people will teach us how to be straight. Okay, so now, what does it mean that these two things need each other? Because if you only have one without the other, then you're doomed for failure. Okay, a person there's only source for straightness is only what he reads in books. He never asks himself, does that resonate with me? He never asks himself that, like, does that sit well with my heart? Is that true to my inner truth? So, you know what we call that person? A fundamentalist. It's a very horrible thing. It's a very tragic thing. To be a fundamentalist means that I never ask myself, but hold on a second, but that's just wrong. That's just evil. And how could you say such a thing? And these are the people that they're able to murder, and they're able to torture. They're able to do horrible things to people in the name of justice, in the name of goodness, in the name of righteousness. That they're able to be horrible people, and they're sure that when I'm beating this person to death, I'm really just trying to get rid of the demons inside of them, and I'm sure they're going to thank me afterwards because that's what I read in some book. And it's even, you can even do it like to yourself. You can a person could like follow what it says in books and live this life that according to somebody is a life of righteousness, and to them it's just going to cause them just complete just feeling horrible with themselves, feeling like they're dying. They're like I think I've told you before about the guy that like read in some book about how amazing it is to fast for so many days in a row until he died from fasting. And like you're thinking that, like, yeah, but this is what God really wants, and like really it's just not sitting well with you, and it's not what your inner truth is saying. So this is the danger of being a fundamentalist. The place people can deny basic human emotions. That, like, to be a good father means that not to beat your kids, not to hurt your kids at all, and certainly never to kick your kids out of the house. And like yeah, my rabbi said that's what I should do. And like, how could you? There's a person that's able to turn off their inner conscience, to turn off their inner compass, and only follow what they read in books. So that's a horrible danger of fundamentalism. And what about the opposite? What about a person who is not going to get involved in what it says on the outside? The person is only going to explore what it says, what my own heart says. So what's the problem with that? The problem with that is that brings a person to wokeism. That brings a person to just to be completely off. A person could be their inner truth could be completely messed up, and their whole value system is just it's a bunch of nonsense. And when they think that they're being true to themselves, they're really being true to nothing at all. Okay, so what's really the real way to come to yosher, the real way to come to integrity? We're talking about yosher, to be a straight person. So it needs to involve both. You need to be influenced by absolute truth, and at the same time, you need to make sure that the absolute truth resonates with your inner truth. Okay, so this expression of the outer truth, which I feel inside my inner truth. So this is when, at that moment that a person feels inside their heart that this absolute truth is true to them, at that moment they became a more straight person. Okay, at that moment they took part of God's yosher, of tzaddik v'yashar hu, and they became Yisrael. That yashar kel, that I am revealing God's straightness when I'm conditioning myself by learning so much Torah, by learning so much morality, by learning so much righteousness, and it's saying, yeah, that's real. That's what I think. That's what I believe in. That's what I vote for. So at that moment, that pops up inside of them. So at that moment, they became a more straight person. And there's a very beautiful idea that I saw from Viktor Frankl. That Viktor Frankl is a very fascinating person. He was very similar to a Jew. And he intermarried, and he was completely atheist, and he went on a search for meaning. That he started at the beginning of his career. He realized that meaning is the thing that a person can bring a person mental health, and that brought him to a search for meaning. And through a search for meaning, he realized that the greatest meaning in life is for a person to be aligned with the truth, to make right decisions, and when he realized that to make the right decision is the most meaningful thing that a person could do, so he realized that there must be some objective right and wrong, that there's a right decision and a wrong decision, that when I'm making the right decision, that's what makes me doing the right thing, that's what makes me doing something meaningful. And when I'm not aligned with that objective truth, then I'm not being perfect, I'm not being godly, I'm not living my mission, my meaning. So then from this exploration of meaning, so he came to the idea of conscience. And from the idea of conscience, he realized that we must be, by definition, we must be born with this inner compass, which is telling us what is right and what is wrong. And that conscience is an expression of God. And so he discovered God through his conscience. He discovered God, from being a complete atheist, he discovered God to the point that at the end of his career, he would speak openly about God. He would say that it's almost impossible to reach meaning without having an idea of God. And he found God through his search for meaning, because he found that the way that we find God is in this conscience, in this quiet voice, this soft voice inside of our heart that's telling us the truth and what is right and what is wrong, and telling us that there is a difference between good and evil. So that soft voice inside of us, that is God speaking through us. Okay, so it's that's a very, very, very awesome thing to think, that we're able to connect with God through our conscience, through the fact that when this little voice speaks up finally, when we like, even though we never heard it before, but when we've heard this idea, then it says, yeah, that's what I always was looking for. That just sounds right. It sounds something that I always would have thought. So at that moment, so we are discovering God. We are discovering the God inside of us. Okay, so this is So it's a very awesome thing that when this awakening inside of us happens, that we, through the connection between the outside and the inside, through learning Torah and resonating with it on a personal level, so at that moment, not only are we becoming straight people, we're discovering God, and we're revealing the godliness inside of us. And that's why what it means to be a Yid is Yashar Kel, is that we reveal the straightness of Hashem. So now I wanted to discuss what are the things that hold us back from being straight people. But in order to understand what's holding us back from being straight, we really have to understand on the deeper level what it really means to be straight. Okay? So we say in Havdalah that Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh Lacha. We bless Hashem that Hashem you discern between the holy and the mundane. That there's a certain that Hashem has this straightness. Hashem has this ruler that you're in, you're out. That you are holy, you're not holy, and Hashem is this line between what's good and what's evil. I often talk to people about like to try to discuss the existence of God, and like I explain to them that if there's no God, then there is no concept of good and evil. There's no such thing as something being wrong. If there is no God, then we're all in this it's all survival, and there's nothing. I can slap you in the face, and that's okay as long as I'm stronger than you, and you're not. If when you try to beat me up, I'll actually beat you up. So then I'm all good. And there's nothing. The concept of morality is only if there's a God. So Hashem is that person. Hashem is Hashem represents, to believe in morality, to believe in good and evil, is to believe in God. I think it's interesting that the word God in English is connected to the word good. The letters of goodness is the letters of God. And so so when we're trying to be straight, so we're understanding that Hashem is the ruler that decides what is on the inside, what is on the outside, what is good and what is evil, that there is good and there is evil. There's an interesting story with Rav Kook. So at some point, he went on a journey through the different moshavs in Israel, and he went together with Rav Chaim Sonnenfeld, and he wanted to be machazek the different yeshuvim that weren't so connected to Judaism, and he wanted to bring Torah to them. And so I read that one Shabbos he spent in some secular moshav, and then by Havdalah, so he spoke, and he said that there's an interesting custom that many people have the custom that the Friday night by Kiddush, so they put a little bit of water into the wine of Kiddush. But by Havdalah, nobody does that. The custom is not to do that by Havdalah. So what's the difference? So he said that what's the Kabbalistic meaning behind putting the water in the wine? So the wine represents judgment, mishpat, redness. Redness is judgment, is din. And the water represents rachamim, represents mercy, represents compassion. And so putting the water into the wine, that represents putting compassion into the judgment. So Rav Kook said that when we're being mekadesh, when we're bringing holiness into the world, so it's important to have compassion. It's important that you can't be too judgment based when you're trying to be kedusha, when you're trying to spend kedusha. So then, like, even if somebody's not according to the rules, so then you bring him in. We can be mekadesh him too. We can bring holiness to him too. Like, I'll find an excuse to find holiness even when it doesn't go according to the rules. But by Havdalah, what are we doing? Then that's when we're discerning. When the mitzvah of Havdalah is that we're trying to explain that there's a difference between what's right and what's wrong. There's a difference between Shabbat and Chol. And when it comes to discerning, when it comes to Havdalah, then there can't be any compassion. It needs to be crystal clear. The difference between right and wrong needs to be crystal clear. There needs to be complete judgment, and that's why there can't be any drop of water. No compassion. There needs to be absolute clarity. So there's one Havdalah. There's one Havdalah ben Kodesh Lacha. There's one Havdalah ben Kodesh Lacha. And then there's another kind of Havdalah. And this is the Havdalah that we say that when Shabbos goes into Yantiv, and we say Hamavdil ben Kodesh LaKodesh. So what's Mavdil Mekadosh to Kodesh? That we have two values. We have two values, and yet Hashem is not just Mavdil between what's right and what's wrong. Hashem is also Mavdil between what's right and what's right. And so this is really the most of our issues, most of our struggles in straightness is not between good and evil. It's not like usually like everybody knows that helping poor people is good and killing innocent people is bad, and like but that's most of our struggles are when we have two opposing values, and the question is, but which is going to take precedence? And this is what something it's called in Lashon HaKodesh, it's called da'as. That is the part of the brain that's in charge of making decisions. That is the part of our brain that weighs up all the different pros and all the different cons, and it says, okay, I see the whole picture, and based on my understanding of the whole picture, so this is the bottom line. This is what we need to do. That's das. So Chazal say that in davening, when we say Havdalah in davening, so we say Havdalah in the bracha of Atachonen L'Adam Dat, right? So Chazal say Im Ein Das Havdalah Minayin. If you don't have das, so then you can't discern. Meaning that it's this koach of das, this koach of being able to make decisions. There's ability to be able to weigh the different sides and see which is truly the stronger side. That is what enables us to make Havdalah. That's what enables us to make these differentiations. So, and this is really this is the problem with a lot of the mistakes that people make. So it's not that they're based on nothing. It's that like people that are anti-Zionist, people they're it's not that they're crazy. It's that they have a value. They have a true value of compassion. They have a value of the people shouldn't starve, people shouldn't suffer, and the problem is that in the grand scheme of things, that how do you weigh that? Like this is a people that it's whose fault is it, and to understand that this is a terrorist organization, that we need to stop the terrorism. We need to to have das of to be able to stand back and say, okay, you're right. There is value to what you're saying. But there's a different value, and that is the safety of the innocent people, and to be able to take a bird's eye view and to be able to make decisions based on that. I understand that your value is also a value, but this other value is a greater value. That's a mavdil mekadosh to kodesh. That's a mavdil mekadosh to kodesh. That's das. That's what it means. That's what it means das. So understanding that being straight requires having das. So this really is the key to understanding what is the thing holding people back from true yosher, from true integrity. That's because the problem is das. Because the problem is being able to weigh the different sides of an issue. So the problem is almost always that I have some kind of what's called in Hebrew negia. Okay, negia means I have something which is pulling me towards one of the sides, which doesn't allow me to see things for what they are. Okay, so what's an example of negias? Negias is the most simple negias is that I have a preconceived notion. Whatever before you talk to me, if whatever I thought before this issue comes to be, my first idea is that's what I thought, and everybody wants to be right. So when you bring to me a different approach, so because I want to be right, so I'll twist my logic, I'll twist my das, I'll twist my yosher to make myself right, because everybody wants to be right. Okay, it's pleasant to be right, so I'm willing to twist, and so on a subconscious level. So because I subconsciously want to be right, so when I'm weighing the sides, I'm going to weigh them improperly. Okay. Number two. People have taivas. People have desires that they want to live their life in an easy way. So they have this preconceived this negias that whatever conclusion is going to end up that I can have an easier life. So that is going to that's going to skew the way that I look at the evidence. Okay, so let's say I'm living in LA, and I have a big apartment, and I have a great job, and so like when somebody's trying to teach me that, hello, there's a mitzvah to live in Israel, so like if you're right, then it's going to be very difficult for me. I have a big negias to want to prove you wrong, because it's much easier to be able to just continue living my easy life in LA, and so that'll help skew the evidence, and I'll say, but there's an opinion that says that it's not really an obligation, and it can't be so bad because look at how many other people do it. And I'll bring all the arguments. It'll skew the way that I look at the evidence, because I have this negias, because I want to have an easy life, and this is true for everything. This is anybody that doesn't want. Anybody that has issues with religious life. So if someone tries to convince them to have a religious life, so they would rather believe that you don't really need to have a religious life because it's easier. I can stay the way I was. I don't need to change. I don't need to grow. If I have an negias to one of the sides, if there's a certain dispute between two people, so if I like one of the people, if one of the sides is my child, if one of the sides is my best friend, so I have this preconceived notion, because I want that my friend should still be a good guy, so the way that I'm going to evaluate the evidence is going to be skewed, and this is going to take me away from being able to evaluate things in a straight way. There's another kind of negias, which is negias of social pressure. That I want to be normal. I don't like when people look at me as being weird, as being strange. So if my values go against what everybody around me is saying, so because that's an uncomfortable thing, so I'll ask myself, come on, who do you think you are? You really think you know better than everybody else? And my desire for fitting in, the social pressure will take away from my integrity, will take away from my yosher, and it will cause me to evaluate things in a crum way, in a crooked way. Okay, and there's a fifth negias. There's a fifth thing that takes us away from our ability to look at things in a straight way, and that is that people have a desire to be special. Sometimes people have a desire to be unique, and to be progressive, and to say something. Wow, you're like, who would believe that it's actually okay to be homosexual? It's okay. Who would believe that it's actually okay to be the two-state solution? To be progressive is it's like the old-fashioned way seems like archaic, and to be new looks cool, right? So there's a certain humility that it requires to just do the right thing. To just it's a little bit boring. To just live your life just doing the right thing is a little bit boring. And whenever you're going to say something wild, so people are going to look at you as being something special. So to be able to just stand for just the right thing, so that requires a certain element of humility. So this really brings us to what the essence of yosher is humility. Okay, because the opposite of all these negias, all the common denominator between all these different negias, all these things that are holding you back from having a balanced, objective perception on the issue, on any issue at hand, anything that I'm trying to judge, I'm trying to say what is straight, what is the right way, and so the common denominator between all the different things that are pulling me away from the objective is all things about me. So that I would like to be special, I would like to have an easy life, I would like to not be proven wrong, I would like to stay with my friend is the good guy, whatever it is. So it's all about me. And the definition of seeing something straight is to see it for what it is. And to see it for what it is, that requires being objective. To be objective means that I am not a function. It's nothing to do with me. It's just, it is what it is. And so the ability to obliterate all of the negias from the decision-making process. So that's really the element of bitul. And that is what the Avot had. When we talk about the Sefer Bereshit as being Sefer HaYashar, so you know what we really mean? We mean that what was special about the Avot was that they saw the truth just from the inside. Like we said before, that like when we are going to just try to look for truth from our inside, from our heart, then we're going to come to wokeness. But the Avot, because they were free from the gifts, because they were free from all of these these personal things which are bringing them to a different desires, so they were free from the gifts because they had this bitul. So their inner truth was the objective truth. That's what it means when it says that Avraham Avinu, so he understood the entire Torah just from his heart. He looked in his heart, he saw every element of truth, every element of right and wrong, to the point of mitzvot. He understood intuitively that it's right to put on tefillin. He understood intuitively that it's right to keep kosher. He understood, and it's certainly
these things are not intuitive at all.
Not to us, because we're not in tuned with the deepest elements of the absolute truth. We're stuck in this reality that we're human and we're full of taivas and we're full of nagias, so we can't be in touch with this absolute truth. But if we will be able to exit that, we'll be able to be Moshe Rabbeinu. So he is the king of bitul. So there's a beautiful Zohar. The Zohar says that the word Ashrei Ha'am Shekacha Lo. The Zohar says Shekacha is the same gematria as Moshe. That means that if you ask Moshe, what is the reason for anything? What's the reason that we should do Hashavat Aveda? So his answer is Kacha. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. That the way that you and I see that why should you not kill? It's just the way it is. So his perception of life was that why should you put on tefillin? It's just the way it is. That you don't need a reason. His perception of reality was so much greater than us that by an objective reality, so then what goodness is so much more inclusive.
Right, but there are some mitzvot, like for example putting on tefillin, that has nothing to do with morality or what's right or wrong or justice.
There's things which are right and wrong, which are not just morality. There's things like why should a person not drink bleach? It's just not healthy for them. It's just not the wrong. It's just the wrong thing to do. So his take on the entire world of spirituality was the world of spirituality to him was as real as the world of safety, as the world of morality. It just is, and that when a person reaches this deep level of bitul, so then they're able to see things from God's perspective, and so this is the essence of our preparation for Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah. So one of the biggest themes of Rosh Hashanah is that Hashem is the king. And according to Kabbalah, so Malchut is about bitul. Malchut is about humility. It's about that I'm not a function. It's all about the absolute truth. I'm mevata myself, I negate myself to this absolute truth. And so the most defining factor of what I'm showing up to Rosh Hashanah with mishpat, hamelach hamishpat. That's what we say. That we say during this Sefer Shuvah, we say hamelach hamishpat. Hashem, when Hashem is king, his kingship expresses itself through mishpat, through justice, through that there's right and there's wrong. That there is this absolute line which discerns between the good side, the right side, the wrong side, and that we're accepting that there's a world of truth. We're accepting that there's right and wrong. There's true and false, and we're aligning ourselves with this integrity. We're aligning ourselves with this line of what is right and what is wrong, and so this is what I think is why it's such an important thing to be a straight person, to be a person that has a very strong moral compass, that it's very clear to him that my value is not to be a wishy-washy person, not to say whatever, okay, like it's not the biggest deal, like to have crystal clear values. Person to have crystal clear values, and the way that we elevate ourselves to this place of having crystal clear values is by getting rid of our negiyas, by being able to judge life from an objective place. And this is really what it means to be a Jew. That the more that we're able to perceive life from this straight place, so we are Yisrael, we are expressing the straightness of Hashem in the world. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay.